Here is the submission of Python lab. As we have a team, we have two members in the team, Anusha and Anurag. So the agenda of this Python lab is, first we have understand the problem statement, and then we try to solve the solution by two approach. First is brute force method and second is sorting method. And in the end, we have conclude the conclusion that which method is better. The problem statement was, we were given a list that contain both positive and negative integer, and we need to find out the sum which is closest to zero. Like for example, we have the input in the format of list, and from that list it contains positive and negative numbers, and one by one we have to find out the sum which is closest to zero. So the input format was in the list of integer, and output format will be the two numbers which were closest to zero. Now, for example, in test case 1, you can see the sample input is of list which contains -4, 7, 6, 2 and -5. So the output of this list will be the two elements which will be closest to the zero, that is -5 and 6. Now in test case 2, we have taken the sample input in format of list which contains -50, 34, -19, 33, 10, -46, -38. Now here the sample output will be the two number which is the two elements with the sum closest to the zero will be -38 and 34. Now first we try to solve it by brute force approach. Those two steps which we have followed is, the first is we have find the sum of each element one by one with the help of for loop, and second we have compared the sum, and third we have finally written the elements whose sum was closest to zero. Now in the code, as you can see, first we have initialized the values with index variable. We have taken the two variables which is L and R, in which we have put the L values equal to 0 and R values equal to 1, and then we have created a list in which we have added the L and R value, and then we have created two for loops to check the sum of to take all the elements in the list, and then we have done the sum, and then from the then we have compared it by the absolute value. If the absolute value which is close to absolute value and close to the zero is greater than absolute value sum, then we have put that sum into close to zero. In this way we have found out the two elements which is closest to the zero. And as you can see, with the help of brute force method, brute force approach, the time complexity is O n raised to 2. As you can now the time complexity is O n raised to 2, which is not that much efficient. So we try to find it by second approach, which is sorting approach. So in this sorting approach, the steps which we have followed is, the first step is sort all the elements in the input, like in ascending order or in descending order. Then we have created two index variable which is L and R. Then we have passed over it from left to right ends, and then we have added each element with the other element within the list. Now now we have created the if loop, in which if the sum is negative then we have increment it, and similarly if the sum is positive then we have decremented R. Then we have repeat the steps till the L is less than till the condition L is less than R is satisfied, and then finally the element whose sum is closest to the zero, we have written that. Now the coding part. Now here again we have defined the variable to keep a track of minimum and current sum, which is P and Q, which we have given the value 0 and 1000. Now again we have defined the initialize the index variable, in which we have defined L is equals to R and R is equals to -1. Now again we have kept the track of minimum sum to the left, and right elements, to the left and right elements. In left elements we have keep it 1, and in right minimum we have keep it and -1. And then we have again sort the elements in ascending or descending order. And then we have again created the hook if loop. In if loop we have seen that when the absolute value of p, that is 0, is less than absolute value of q that we have assigned as 1000, if q is equal to 1, then L minimum is equals to R and R minimum is equals to R. Then again we created one more if loop in which we have again check if p value is less than 0. Then we have created that, yeah, and then we have print a minimum value. Now here you can here the time complexity of sorting approach is O and log n, which is much better. So the conclusion is, for this problem statement, the sorting approach is more good approach to solve than brute force approach, because brute force approach is not that efficient, yeah, and sorting approach is much more efficient to this problem statement. Thank you.